G'day guys, how's it going? My name is CJ. We're in 2019, and whilst the Apple Watch has remained reasonably relevant thanks in part to the brilliantly new Series 4 model and the integrated ecosystem of iOS, Android Wear OS experiment is living, well, let's say a more mediocre life. It certainly hasn't captured the imagination of the Android faithful. Partly due to lackluster hardware, partly due to lackluster software, but also because even Android smartphone manufacturers can't decide whether to use Wear OS or their own proprietary software like with Samsung. Combine all of these issues and slap a high price on any half-decent smartwatch and you can see why they are struggling. One company that seems to be plugging away at these efforts and seem to be garnering a reasonable amount of limelight is Mobvoi with their Ticwatches. I reviewed a couple of them in the past and they certainly place competitive products at a half-decent price. The Ticwatch E and S were cheap, lightweight and reliable, and the Ticwatch Pro stepped it up and introduced innovation and quality into its product with its dual-layered display. Something that we don't really see much of in Android smartwatches these days. Well, Mobvoi certainly aren't sitting around. And in late October 2018, they released a more refined product called the C2. I've been using the Ticwatch C2 for the last month or so, and it's time to give you guys the lowdown. Let's get started. To start with, the C in C2 stands for classic. An ode to the classical design that makes it look more like a traditional Swiss timepiece than a workhorse gadget. And it shares this ethos in its materials. Instead of the full plastic casing found on its more budget-oriented E-series, it uses a stainless steel front casing with a rigid plastic bottom case to keep things light and comfortable. They also use genuine leather straps all round, instead of the hybrid leather silicone one found in the Ticwatch Pro. There are 3 colors: black, the platinum one that I've got here, and rose gold, because of course any premium product needs a nice rose gold version. This rose gold version is geared towards those with slimmer wrists, with a slightly slimmer, 0.3mm thinner in fact, and also a rounded design. On top of this, it also uses a slightly slimmer wrist strap at 18mm versus the more traditional 20mm one found in the standard black and platinum model. And aside from a slightly different button design, that's as far as the differences go. Now both of these watches sport a nice 1.3-inch AMOLED display with a 360x360 resolution. That's plenty sharp for using with general day-to-day use and sort of the distances that you would look at the watch. Brightness wise, it's good for both indoor and outdoor use. There is no ambient light sensor, so you do have to keep it at one level, and I have found around the level 3 or level 4 setting seems to be the best balance between using it indoors and outdoors without needing to do much switching and changing. And when you do have to use it outdoors, you got to crank it all the way up to 6 in order for it to be legible, and that's going to take a massive toll on the battery, which is an issue that I'll talk about later. Oh, and one other tidbit. The vibration motor in the C2 models is much improved compared to the Ticwatch Pro. Feels a lot tighter, a lot firmer, as opposed to this mushy thing that was on your wrist before. Again, just adds to the premium feel of this product. It's not quite Apple Watch Taptic engine quality, but it's a lot better than the last model. At the beating heart of the C2 is an ancient Qualcomm Snapdragon 2100 with 512MB of RAM, helping it grind through Wear OS. More on that later. It also uses Bluetooth 4.1 and Wi-Fi for connectivity. Pretty standard stuff. It also contains GPS and all the sensors one considers basic, like accelerometers, gyroscopes, and a heart rate sensor, which works as you'd expect and gives you a reasonably accurate reading of your heart rate at any given time. A welcome addition that's been brought over is NFC, which means you're able to use Google Pay and simply wave your watch in order to pay for things. But also like the Ticwatch Pro, it does take a couple of seconds to respond, so it isn't as instant as an Apple Watch, but at least the feature is there. And then all of this is powered by a 400mAh battery, which is just shy of the Ticwatch Pro's 415. Mobvoi is touting 2 days of battery life, but again we'll talk about that later. Let's just say that's optimistic. And of course no watch would be worth its weight if it breaks from contact with water, and the C2 also comes with, I guess, a more reasonable IP68 water resistance. So it'll stand a few splashes, but don't go swimming with it. So on paper, it all looks pretty promising, and if you haven't seen my reviews of previous Ticwatch models yet, go check them out, because in general, the overall experience has been quite positive. The E and Pro both had smooth user experiences in general, and this is largely carried over with the C2. I'd say for 80% of the time, it's very smooth. However, these smooth moments are still interspersed with UI glitches, with occasional lag. Sometimes it slips back to the watch face before loading an app, and rarely, apps don't even load at all. I'm not sure whether it's specific to the hardware that I've been given, but the same characteristics were found in both the Platinum and the Rose model I've been using. And then trying to push it by navigating through and using apps like Google Maps seemed to at times quickly overwhelm the old CPU and RAM. Starting off, there were many times when the watch simply hung when I needed to find something or book an Uber. By the time it caught up, it just wasn't needed anymore since I just went back to using my phone instead. With time, however, this has smoothed out a little and I don't get nearly as many laggy moments, but they are there. It handles notifications as well as you'd expect from a largely bare-bones Wear OS experience, and it can also handle phone calls. But by handling calls, I mean it can answer it, but you'll need your phone to actually talk. There's no speaker on the watch unlike the Pro, and it'll just refer you to your phone when you hit the accept button. The only other scenario where this makes any sense is if you're using them with a pair of Bluetooth headphones, much like Mobvoi's Ticpod Freeze, for example. Give us a like and comment below if you want to see a review of these headphones. Otherwise, you get the same features as most other smartwatches. A swipe left for a Google Assistant newsfeed, swipe down for Control Center, swipe up for notifications, and a swipe right for Tic Health app. An app which can be used for all your fitness tracking needs. I personally prefer Google Fit, and you at least can still use that in place of it, and I had no problems tracking distance and workouts. The top button takes you to the app drawer, and the bottom button can be customized to whatever is most useful to you, though it is set by default to the Tic Health app. This extra button is something that the E and S models are missing. So if you listen to a lot of music, you can customize it to load up Spotify or your player of choice, or you can even set it to load the camera app and use it as a remote instead. The buttons are also nice and clicky when you use them as well. This adds to the premium feeling of the watch. It's a nice change from the mushy buttons of the past, the Pro version included. The watches also come with a unique clock face that are unique to Tic watches, and each with a different level and different customizability of its complications. And it comes with all the same customization options you could ask for with the apps found on the Google Play Store. Whilst it's not anywhere near as extensive as Apple Watch's ecosystem, there at least is support with some of the most major apps. But just don't overwhelm it with too many at once because it can again lag. What it doesn't do as well as the Ticwatch Pro is in battery life. The 400 mAh battery is smaller and does struggle to last longer than a full day of use in my experience. So when I've been using it as I would any other smartwatch, by the end of the day, it'll have about 10% or less, and that's at around 10 PM. My days usually start at 7 AM. So for most people, it'll probably last a full working day, but it's certainly still a charge overnight, every night sort of smartwatch. But in spite of all of this, to charge this watch, you still need to use a proprietary dock it comes with. It uses magnets to direct the watch, and it latches in place with a pretty satisfying snap. And it feels much more refined with a nice soft touch plastic, which is a far cry from the incredibly easily lost cable that came with the original E version. Unfortunately, all these docks aren't universal, say with the Pro to the C2, and so you can't really use them between each different Ticwatch. This is a bit of a shame because it would have made buying into the ecosystem or involving other family members into the Ticwatch ecosystem a lot smoother in my opinion. And of course, finally, the all-important issue of price. In Australia, it retails for about 300 Australian dollars and 200 US dollars. But that's not chump change. But in the grand scheme of all the other Android Wear watches, it's actually quite reasonably priced, at least for the feature set. Overall, I really wanted to love this watch, and it had the potential to be a great one, but the intermittent bugginess in the software was actually quite jarring. It could have just been my hardware, but I can only review what I have in front of me. Overall, there are better options out there in my opinion, like the new Fossil Sports, and you could probably find Galaxy Gear S3s for around the same price or even less. These have a more robust smartwatch ecosystem, and much to my surprise, they actually still receive updates from Samsung. Otherwise, if your budget is limited to 300 Aussie or 200 US, and you need Wear OS, then the C2 is a decent shout. I just hope for your sake that your hardware is a little less buggy than mine. Anyway guys, what do you guys think about this watch? Do you like the look of it? Or do you guys have any other suggestions? Do let me know in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, be sure to hit the like button. And if you haven't already, do consider subscribing and hit the bell icon. Thanks again for watching guys, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Say good day, everyone, for me. Cheers.